Yes, I'm Hrothgar the Saxon. Matt Easton, really cool guy, a swordsman who appreciates the spear. You might know him as Captain Context. The other day he made a video where he was explaining that if someone attacks you with a knife, a dagger or a bayonet, and you're defending yourself with a knife, a dagger or a bayonet, you don't really want to stab to their face or their torso, but you want to cut their hand. You need to know the context, and if you haven't seen his video or you don't know him for some reason, you should go and check it out. It's a really good one. At this point, however, I'd like to bring in a disclaimer. There are people, especially here on YouTube, who will tell you, hey, I've got this super fantastic martial art that I'm a master of, and I can show you how easy it is to disarm someone who's attacking you with a knife, or even with a gun. Total crap! And then they will go and demonstrate by having their student attack them with a plastic knife, and then they fantastically disarm him. The student is only half-heartedly attacking them to start with and complies with what his master is doing. The reason this works in the demonstration is because the assailant is not really committed to hurting the person they're attacking, and he complies with the actions of his master. Do not believe that you could seriously disarm someone who attacks you with a knife, or worse still is holding a loaded gun at your face, that you could disarm them without severely being injured or killed. That aside, Matt Easton had read this book, and it was actually more about situations in the Second World War, but it could apply for other scenarios. That if someone with a bladed weapon is attacking someone and you have to defend with a bladed weapon, you do not go for their face or torso, but you take a step back where their hand is still in reach, but your vulnerables are out of their reach, and you cut their hand. Really good point. However, he then went on to explain that if you don't have a sharp weapon, you might use a stick, an umbrella, a bottle or a book. And I'm thinking, no, let's test it. I am a bit biased here because I have actually had experience in my childhood and youth of using umbrellas as weapons, and I can say it doesn't work. But we start off with the stick. Now, as you can see, we are wearing protective garment for those parts of the body that might be hit. I am to stab my son in the stomach with not a real dagger but a wooden replica, so it's not sharp. He, on the other hand, has a stick. It's the same thing basically, but his is supposed to be a stick, so he can't cut. He has to apply enough force to my lower arm so as to not receive a blow, and due to the fact that he's got a very short stick and it is not very heavy, he can't really apply force in a sense that would disarm me or would give him a certain advantage. Now, we thought that not everybody has training daggers of wood, so we decided to apply something that you might have at home, a plunger. Now, like a lot of household implements, it has a wooden stick made of a very light wood, pine wood I believe, which is alright for operating it as a plunger, but when hitting it doesn't have much weight. Also, Hrothgar found it's irrelevant which way round he held it, the rubber head doesn't really do anything. The third stick we used was this wooden cane, which is made of much harder wood, and I think that is important. He found it very easy to give me a nice good whacking blow to my lower arm, thus moving my arm out of the dangerous direction it was moving in, and then still give me another blow to the head. You too should find that you'll be able to hit your opponent to the head while you are out of range of his blade, which is good. Now, there was one more stick that he suggested we could use, and I said, no, I don't want this anywhere near my face, but I think for obvious reasons that could be really good in self-defense. When it came to the umbrella, I am biased because, as said, in my childhood and youth, I had already had experience with using umbrellas as weapons and found that they are pretty useless. As hard as you can. That is exactly what I'm talking about, and that is why umbrellas are useless. You've basically got a hollow aluminium shaft here, possibly even with grooves in it, which weakens it because you've got to shove things up and down, and that means that when hitting, you cannot apply the same force or transfer the same force than if it were a solid piece of wood. Even if there are additional rods here, you have this weak point, and that is exactly where you saw our umbrella bend. Now, if in the process of you making your escape, your weapon breaks, that is a sacrifice that is worth it. If you live, you can get a new weapon or whatever it was later on. But if you're trying to deter an arm coming towards you and the umbrella just bends, thus not stopping the arm, you're not really going to survive, and that is why umbrellas do not make good weapons. In that sense, if it's a longer one, then yes, you can prod it into your attacker's face. My recommendation would be to then run away. Little different with the bottles. Now, for obvious reasons, we don't have plastic bottles in this household, so I thought, and then I was shown, oh, we do have some. Right, but for drinking, we only have glass bottles, obviously. Now, the glass bottle was surprisingly effective, the empty one, that is. Hrothgar's glass of cider for you!
Yes, you. Not for him, not for her, for you.
Okay. Oh!
Sorry.
Yeah, okay. No, that is really good. That is good. Oh. If you're accustomed to seeing cowboys in bar fights hitting each other on the head with bottles and the bottle shattering, that's because those bottles, I do believe, are made of sugar and they do shatter. Real bottles don't do that. I'd like to point out, once again, this is not about encouraging anyone to use violence towards other people. I'm just pointing out where I disagree with Matt Easton, especially on the umbrellas. As far as the bottles go, the empty glass bottle really did hurt and was very effective. However, I was surprised that when my son then got a full bottle, he found it very difficult to wield.
Hrothgar's glass of cider for you!
Now, I believe there is a psychological aspect here. He understood that he really had hurt my arm with that empty bottle and was thus then reluctant to really commit to hitting me with the full bottle. But for the most part, I do believe it was a physical problem that he could not wield that full bottle as easily as the empty bottle. And this isn't just because of the awkwardness of the weight, but how to grip it. Now, if by chance you've got a bottle that has a nice rim to its neck like that, you can grab that and you definitely can't let go of that or mistakenly lose it, you know, so you really can whack about with that. Full of liquid, nice and hard. Now, if you're stupid enough to drink out of plastic bottles, the plastic bottle that is empty will be utterly useless, even worse than an umbrella, says I without having tested it. And I think you'll find if you have a full or half full plastic bottle that you won't be able to grip it really well. It's not really going to be a good weapon. What you could do here is throw it at your opponent's face and run for it again. Now, with the books, Mervyn Mouse Goes Camping. You didn't hit me.
I did.
Utterly useless. So we took something that's a bit harder to digest. Karl Marx Das Kapital. This is actually in German. I don't know if that makes it heavier. And Ockbert found that it was really something you can grip nice and hard, and he was capable of applying some really good force here. Also, after having knocked my arm out of the way, he found he could still whack me to the head. So, definitely much better than Mervyn, but to top it, the Britannica Atlas. Now, this is the 1982 edition. so not all countries and borders are correct, but I don't think that made a difference. This is so big you might think you can use it as a shield, but do remember your fingers are exposed. That can be a problem. All the same, he found once again he is capable of wielding it in one hand. Now if you're a dainty lady, it could be that you might find that a little bit more difficult to do, but not only has it got nice weight, due to its size, it is possible to engage my arm and still be safe from the dagger. However, you've got to consider that the attacker can just simply try from another angle. On the whole though, he whacked me with that 2 or 3 times and then I really was fed up with doing any more testing.
Oh, okay, yeah. I've had enough. We're not doing the Kinder Atlas.
So, to conclude, yes, certain sticks are definitely things you could use to dislodge an attacker's hand, but it's got to be hardwood, and if it has a reach advantage, that is definitely something. Just a short stick is probably not going to do it. Umbrellas, utterly no. No way whatsoever. Bottles, not if they're plastic. Glass, preferably empty. Pretty good. And to my surprise, books can really be hefty. So, once again, this is not to incent violence in anyone. It is just a response to Matt Easton, where I'd like to say I don't utterly agree with that point. But apart from that, if someone wants to stab you and you've got a knife, cut their hand just like he said. I'm Oscar, and I'm wishing you a nice day.
Your umbrella's come undone.